President Trump takes on big tech censorship with a class action lawsuit, free speech lawsuit. Very, very good. Joining us now to talk about it, our hero, Stephen Miller, former senior White House advisor and founder of America First Legal. Stephen, I don't know if you had anything to do with his remarks or the op-ed in the Journal, but they were both excellent. In fact, I read the written version, you know, the hard copy of the press conference, and he stayed on message the whole time. I'm proud of him. He stayed on message. And I just want to ask you, because I know you're heavily into this now with your America First Legal Group, can he get like a judge, a federal judge someplace, to enjoin these techie companies, these media companies, from violating free speech, from violating the First Amendment? Is that possible?
Well, a few points. First of all, I agree with you. The president did a stellar job at the press conference, and all credit goes to him. It was his message and his conviction, and you know how strongly he feels about the issue of free speech in America and fighting cancel culture. To answer your second question, that's why the president is doing this, because ultimately we do need to find that judge in this country or that panel of judges on the circuit court or the Supreme Court that's willing to stand up and say that, in effect, these organizations have taken on government-like powers. And so it violates the First Amendment. And the means by which most of us communicate with each other is being controlled in a way that is fundamentally un-American and fundamentally dangerous to our core freedoms as citizens.
So I've been trying to get someone to say that, yeah, it could happen that way. No one, I don't know, no one understood the tactics of this. They understood the generic issue, but not the judicial tactics, because, you know, we experience a lot of times some left-wing judge, left-wing federal district judge, is one of them, you know, would enjoin us from a good policy for the whole country. Just one little judge in some little place. So, okay, fine.
Well, oftentimes, usually in San Francisco.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. But I'm just saying, maybe it'll work for us this time. Because, look, here's a question. I know I want to go to other stuff that your foundation is doing, but the Section 230 liability shield, which has to be thrown out, but everybody knows, I think, that what these platforms have done has gone way, way beyond that. Right? I mean, it is now. They're violated. It's
without
not just
question,
about 230.
And the reality is you have to try, Larry. That's the bottom line. You have to try. None of us can see into the future and know exactly what the outcome is going to be. But you have to try. That's what the president is doing. He's using every resource at his disposal, not only for his own benefit, but for the benefit of the whole country, to have free and open debate. The example I often give people is, imagine if your telephone company could turn off your telephone or turn off your cell phone every time you said something that they didn't agree with. Yes. It would be fundamentally and irrevocably damaging to the First Amendment if that was allowed to happen.
Yeah, I think that's the basis. And who knows? Some good things may happen. Second point, America First Legal, you're filing a response, a formal response to, this is so weird. NASA wants to have a race equity schemes into their new space programs. I don't even know what that means. Is that like the colleges and universities have done? And race equity in NASA is a new one for me, but tell us about it. You're filing suit against it.
So we've taken the first step in the legal process by filing a formal response to their announcement that they're going to push so-called racial equity into NASA's mission, which, when you think about it, is probably one of the craziest things any of us has heard in a very long time. NASA has a pretty clear-cut mission, Larry, which is to explore space. And it's really incompatible with that mission to take on a second mission, which is to advance, effectively, let's call it what it is, critical race theory, and to decide who gets to go to space and decide who gets grants and decide who gets hired, who gets fired, who gets retained, who gets promoted, and what we do based upon this radical left, race-based doctrine. It is probably one of the most dangerous things you could do, which is to take a scientific mission and turn it into an abjectly political mission. when we're sending an astronaut into space, all I care about is that he gets safely up, does his mission or her mission, and comes safely back home. And for the love of God, Larry, I hope that's all NASA is concerned about, too.
You know, you see, it's so true, Stephen. You see all the movies and the books. I kind of like the movies, the space mission movies. You know, they have the African-American women were the great bookkeepers in NASA. That was a fabulous movie, too. But, you know, they broke their backs being accurate so that the safety factor was there and we could advance the scientific mission. So I guess I'm going to say naively, I always thought scientific and personal merit was going to drive our space operation. You're now saying critical race theory is going to drive our space. That's a horse of a completely, I'm sorry, that's a satellite of a completely different arc.
Yeah, and that's really important for your listeners to understand, is that these terms are used interchangeably by the left. So some days it's called equity, some days they call it critical race theory, some days they call it, for example, creating or fighting structural racism or fighting systemic racism, right? We know all the buzzwords, but at the end of the day, it's all the same overarching concept, which is to blow up the American ideal of equality under law, blow up the meritocracy, get rid of the idea, the whole liberal American order in which you're judged by who you are and what you contribute. Get rid of all of that and make every decision based on skin color. Take MLK's legacy, throw it in the ash heap, and instead apply this radical new doctrine. It's dangerous to science. It's dangerous to freedom, it's dangerous to liberty, and frankly, it hurts everybody, no matter where you come from or who you are, because we all want to be judged based on our own individual merits.
Well, I always thought, can't we just get the best people to get us to Mars and Venus and so forth? Just get the best people. Why not? What's so bad about that? I don't know. Anyway, Steve Miller, great to see you. By the way,
thank you as always.
Katie, the lovely Katie, has been fabulous on this program. It's a great, wonderful thing. All right, folks.